Welcome back to Hey Kentucky. There's been no shortage of intrigue so far in Frankfort as the legislative session is underway. So to get us caught up to speed, we'd like to welcome in Ryalnd Barton with WFPL. He's the State House reporter there. Hello, Ryalnd. Thanks for being here. We want to get started with what happened today. First of all, there was a bill that was discussed that would make it a requirement for all school resource officers to have a firearm.
Right. So this is a follow-up to this big school safety bill that the legislature passed last year. That bill requires every school in Kentucky to have a school resource officer. And now there are some leaders in the state Senate, education-focused Republicans, who want to make sure that every one of those school resource officers has a gun. That wasn't clear in the first round of that bill that passed last year. They say that that's how they meant it to be all along. This also comes as Louisville's public school system is actually trying to decide whether or not they want to allow officers to have guns. So there's a bit of a patchwork across the state right now as to how local school boards want this to operate. So we'll see how this develops over the course of the next few weeks as this bill moves along.
I want to ask you about sports betting. That's been kind of a hot topic on this show and just across the state. Brett Musburger even doing a commercial basically for promoting the sports betting bill. Can you talk about where that is for me?
That bill has passed out of committee. It's awaiting a hearing on the floor. That bill would raise about $20 million for the state, and it would allow, unlike previous versions of it, it would actually allow betting on college sports, which is, of course, a big deal in Kentucky. Again, these bills can change as they move along. There are some people who are not in favor of that, so we'll see if it changes. But there seems to be a lot of bipartisan support for this measure. It's something that Governor Beshear has said that he wants, and this is, of course, happening as the state is really locked into a really big financial mess. The state's going to be short about $1.3 billion. The state legislature has to come up with a whole lot of money or find ways to cut services. It's a classic quandary that lawmakers have to face every year.
Representative Koenig, who sponsored the bill, has been out trying to get people to write their legislators or call in and voice their support, and the other side has been doing the same too. I just find it interesting to see that there's so much cry for public support or non-support for this issue.
It's certainly one that's generated a lot of attention and coverage. And I think that it's something that really cuts to the heart of something that even people who aren't interested in politics in Kentucky are interested in, which is sports. And I think that it's something that gets a lot of people's attention really easily. And plus, for people who are kind of fiscally minded, anybody who's aware of kind of the financial stresses that the state's in, this is another opportunity for, it is a bit of a drop in the bucket, but $20 to $30 million that the state might be able to raise per year by taxing those sports bets.
Representative Stephen Meredith withdrew his bill that would allow police to detain you if they asked you for your identification. You didn't show it to them if they thought you were doing something suspicious. How often have you seen that, where a bill is just withdrawn from taking so much heat?
This happens every year. I think it's certainly something that lawmakers want to avoid. They don't like, the kind of spectacle of just bowing down to public pressure. But it's something that happens every year. This is something that a couple of years ago, actually 2 years ago exactly, in the wake of the Marshall County High School shooting, when a senator had proposed arming teachers in response to that. There's great public outcry to that, and the legislator ended up pulling it. So especially for, sometimes they're just bad bills. Sometimes those lawmakers might not even realize how bad those bills are. But ultimately, it's kind of one of those moments where people can really decide and drive the conversation. And he ended up pulling it, although he really did with a lot of vitriol. He accused those people who had opposed his bill of also being willing to kill innocent babies in the womb. So it wasn't exactly a heartfelt withdrawal of that bill, but nonetheless, he's not going to pursue it anymore.
Ryalnd Barton from WFPL, check out his work there. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it. More Hey Kentucky right after this.